So those of you who have not been to my workshops before, you want to get a copy of today's video, stay towards the end, all right, and I'll show you how to do it. Is that all right? Okay. Is the process okay, everyone? If it's okay, please type into the chat box. Okay, yes, then I'll know that we are okay with this. Excellent. Thank you so much. All right. So let's do the definition part. All right. Let's do the definition part. Okay. Now, I've shown you this little chart before, all right? It basically means self-coaching is a way that we can use to achieve career success. So let's talk a little bit about what do we mean by coaching or self-coaching. Okay, so let's deal with coaching, especially for those of you who have been through a coaching process. Just now, about 40% of you have been through a coaching process. All right, can you all type into the chat box, what do you understand by the term coaching? Those of you who have gone through coaching, what do you understand by the term coaching? Can you type into the chat box? What is coaching to you? You type in the chat box. What is coaching to you? Guidance? Any others? Is it just guidance from superiors, colleagues, and the workplace? Okay. What about career coaching? Directing. Okay, that says directing. Any other thing? Advice. Okay. Positive self-talk. Okay. All right. So understand. Any other views about what coaching is? So it seems to be like, it's a lot of, basically you're trying to get help to move from one place to another. Fine. Okay, so let me sort of share with you, coaching in a purest form. Coaching in a purest form, essentially, it is a developmental approach, right, to enhance personal capability. So if I am actually coaching a person, all right, that is what I focus on. And the process by which I help other people as a coach and a client, all right, is basically to help you learn how to achieve career success. So I'm not going to teach you how, I'm not going to sort of do it for you, all right? I may teach you, right? I may sort of bring you through the process so that at the end goal, you learn, right? You learn how to do it, all right? So then what does it mean when we say self-coaching, right? So if you look at the process just now I described, is from one person to the other. So if we do self-coaching, basically is when you cultivate your own personal development, right? By assessing what? By assessing your own inner wisdom. Okay, by assessing your own inner wisdom. Okay, you'll find, you may be surprised, a lot of the time you actually know what to do. You just need to find a way to actually draw out those answers from within yourself. Okay, and that's what I'm going to do. So typically I'm going to go through with you a process which I take most of my clients through, right? This career development process, basically you see 4 steps there. Okay, knowing yourself, exploring options, getting focused, and then taking action. So I'm going to talk to you about each of those 4 activities, those 4 categories. And these are the categories that I will bring through most of my clients depending on what their career issues are. Okay, so this is the process. Is that all right? Okay, so let's talk about the first one, right? Knowing yourself. Knowing yourself. If someone or coach tells you that they are going to go through with you this process of knowing yourself, right? It basically, in a coaching, career coaches terminology, it means going through your VIPS, values, interests, personality, skills. All right. So I will go through the same stuff with you. I'll try and draw out the same stuff for you. Right. Now, skills here, typically I actually refer to as strength. The way I see it is more strengths than just skills alone. All right. So let's talk about this portion itself. So the whole idea for this getting to know your own VIPS, values, interests, personality, skills, or strengths, all right, is basically to make sure 2 things will happen. Okay. Number 1, you determine what is important for you. Okay, you determine what is important for you, right? And once you know what's important for you, you also need to determine what are you good at, what are your strengths. Okay, what are your strengths? Once you know these 2 components, all right, you will then know how to position yourself as a problem solver. Okay, So that's the purpose, the objective for for this particular section itself. That is the objective for this particular section on knowing yourself. Okay. Now, first steps first. Before you know yourself, what are you good at and all, right? One thing I always tell my client is this: who are you doing all this for? You want to achieve career success, you want to be successful in your jobs, the things that you do. Who are you doing it for? That's the first thing I need you to think about. That is the first thing you need to think about. Okay? Who are you doing this for? For many people, right, they may say it's my children, my family, right? Those of you who are not married or prefer to say, okay, I'm actually doing this for myself, that's fine. No, not judgmental at all. Okay? Just as long as you are clear, who are you doing this for? You are going through the whole process, all the effort of achieving career success. You must think, who are you doing this for? Okay? So that is very, very important. Are we okay with this? All right. If you know already right now, who are you attributing this career success to, right? Maybe you want to type into the chat box, that's fine. Okay? But just be very, very clear. Be very clear, who are you doing this for? Right? Sorry if I'm repeating this, but the reason why I'm repeating this is so that it's just to emphasize that it's really, really important for you. Okay, it gives you the motivation to go through the hard work and the pain that you may experience when you are trying to achieve career success. Okay, so now that you understand or you've gone through this whole thing about who you are doing this for, next thing you must understand is this: what is important for you when you are looking at your job or your career? What is important for you when you're looking for your job or your career? Okay, now there are lots of ways to do it, but those of you who have been to my workshops before, you would have gone through this exercise. All right, I want to keep it simple. It's called a meaningful experience exercise. Okay, now for the 50% of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me sort of go through this now. Essentially, I'm looking at asking you to take out a piece of paper, write down 4 columns. You see the 4 columns up there. What your job title is, or maybe what you are doing now or what you're doing before, right? Activities related to the job, what you like most about the job, what you dislike most about the job. Okay, so 4 columns. Now, what are we trying to do here? Essentially, what we're trying to do here is to get you to think about your past or your current jobs. At least 3 of these. At least 3 of these. Okay, you can have more, do it, but at least 3. All right, and what you're going to do is that you need to describe what you like and what you didn't like about those activities or jobs. All right, now why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Well, essentially, if you look at it, we are trying to spot patterns. Patterns in what you liked and disliked about your past or current job. Right? And in order for us to spot really relevant patterns, that's why I put down minimum 3, because anything less than 3, let's say you do 2, it's not really meaningful because it could be a coincidence. All right, it could be so drastically different that it may not make any sense to you. All right. So what happens when you achieve this? What happens when you achieve this? All right. You spot the patterns, you understand, oh, I if I look at my past jobs or my current jobs and all, I look at it, I say, oh, I like these things about my past jobs. I dislike these things about what I'm doing. All right. This will help you determine what your preferences are in terms of the job or your career that you next choose. Are we okay with this? All right. This is a very simple exercise. All right. So, anybody got any questions about this particular exercise? Are we okay with this? All right. So, I don't know. I think we are about 20 minutes into the whole process of this today's workshop. Do you want to give it a try? All right, I'll give you maybe 3 minutes to try this. Write down one just to give it a try. All right, what you liked about the job, your current job or your past job, not what you dislike about it. All right, give it a try, and then we come back. If those of you who have already done this before and you want to sort of share with the class, and then we can see what is the trend. Okay, so 5 minutes. Let's do it 5 minutes, and then we come back, and then if there's a discussion point on this, we can discuss. Is that all right? Okay, I see you guys in about 5 minutes. Please do this. All right, the more you do, the more you put into this, the more you get out of it. Huh? Give it a try. I see you guys in 5 minutes. Okay, so hopefully you all got a chance to actually do this particular activity. All right, so maybe you don't have a chance to actually do all three, or at least three, but at least you try one. Okay, anybody got any problems or concerns about doing this particular activity? Anybody got any problems or concerns? All right, every time I do this, especially in a group setting, I always get someone who comes to me and say it is very revealing, because they never knew that these were the things that they liked and disliked if they look at all their past jobs and experiences. Okay, so you may be one of those that gets that. All right, so hopefully you found some benefits from this. All right, so this is just the first exercise that you do. All right, where you will do this so that it can help you determine what your career or job preferences are. All right, so this is a very quick and easy way to determine, a combination of what your values are, your interests are, and sometimes even your personality as well. Okay, so we've done the first three already, just from this simple exercise. All right, next thing I want to talk about is really to determine your skills, or what I say here is strengths. Okay, because to me, all right, it is not just about skills, right? Because it is about a combination of things that that you are good at. Okay, that's why I determine as the S is strengths and not just skills alone. So how do we do this? How do we do this? Again, another exercise which I think we can do together. All right, we don't have to take another break. We can do this together. Right. So here another a little box, matrix of 4 boxes. You can see there two axes. So those of you who have a piece of paper, maybe you can do this now. All right. So on top there, you will see on the blue row is competency. I'm not good at this. I'm good at this. Then on the column here is basically your interest or your preference. I like to do this. I don't like to do this. Okay. So let's go each box by each box and see what can we put in there. All right, so when I'm explaining each box, please put into that box your own particular items as well. You understand what I mean when I come to it. Okay, let's talk about the purple box first. I'm good at this and I like to do this. All right, think about this. I'm good at this particular activity and I like to do this. All right, if you've got skills or experiences that you put into there, right, these will be called motivated skills. You are motivated to use these activities or skills because why? You're good at it and you like to do it. Okay. Now, hopefully, when you embark on your job or your career, you have a lot of these things ticked in this box. Right? So these are your motivated skills because you are good at it and you like to do it. All right, let's talk about the next one. The next one I want to talk about is the red box. Things you are good at, but you don't like to do it. Things you are good at, but you don't like to do it. We call this burnout skills, right? Because you're good at it, probably people ask you to do it a lot of the time, right? But you just don't like to do it. So the more you do it, right, the more stressed you are, the more burnout you become. Okay? What are your burnout skills? You type into the chat box, what are your burnout skills? My burnout skills are what? When I was working in a corporate, in employment with another company, because I was good at chasing numbers, was looking after the region, P&L, and all. I was good at this, but I didn't like to do it. So, but then because I was good at it, my bosses put me in charge of a lot of those things. Therefore, I get burned out, I get stressed out. So chasing numbers, chasing P&L was my burnout skill. I had to do it, but even though I didn't like to do it. All right. So, what is your burnout skills? Think about it. What is your burnout skills? Okay. Now, next one. Those in the orange box. I'm not good at this, but I like to do it. I'm not good at this, but I like to do it. These basically are skills that you want to learn how to do, right? So we call this developmental skills. Developmental skills, right? So if you have skills in that box itself, right, put it there, all right? But you also know that because you're not so good at it, maybe those are skills you want to learn more on how to do it. Okay? Developmental skills. So, what are your developmental skills? List those things down. Okay. Last box, the grayish box or the dark blue box, call it. I don't like to do this and I'm not good at this. I don't like to do this and I'm not good at this. Essentially, because you don't like to do it and you're not good at this, they're probably irrelevant to you, right? So we call it irrelevant skills. Hopefully, you don't have a lot of those things ticked into that box itself. Hopefully, you have more things ticked into the top two boxes, developmental and motivated skills. So the question here is this, you know, in my jobs or in my career, right, whether it's current or the next job, do I want to have more motivated skills, burnout skills, or developmental skills? Do I want to have my job where it's 100% all motivated skills? I can use my motivated skills. If you can find that job, well done. But chances are you probably won't be able to find a job that allows you to use 100% your motivated skills. There's bound to be some elements of the job that will either get you to use your burnout skills or maybe your developmental skills. All right. But that doesn't mean that the job is bad or the career is bad. But you just have to recognize what these things are. Okay. Then you can make a choice about whether that job is the right job for you. But the other spin off for this activity, right, is then it allows you to know what you are good at. What you are good at. Okay? What you are good at. It could be a mixture of things you like or don't like to do, but essentially what you are good at. All right? So once you know what you are good at, those become your strengths. And then you can actually use those strengths to position yourself as someone who helps other people solve their problems. You can position yourself as a problem solver. Think about this. If someone comes to you, all right, maybe Iriana says, "Oh, Rihanna can help me with this. I think she's very good at this." Wow, Iriana will become in demand. Everybody will want to say, "Hey, Iriana, come, help me with this." Or Iriana, yeah, I'm good because Iriana is good at this, Or Jerome, Jerome is very good at doing this. Let's get Jerome on board, that he can help us with this. All right. So being a problem solver, being recognized as a problem solver, being recognized as being able to help someone to solve their problem is your unique selling proposition, your strength. Okay? And the way we do this is really through a combination, right? It's not just skills alone. It is about our experiences, our knowledge, our ability, our training, all those things you see in the box there. It's a combination of those. So please, I'm not saying skills is not important, but what I'm saying here is that skills alone is not the only thing. Okay? So it has to be a combination of all the other things that you see there. Are we okay with this so far? Are we okay with this so far? All right. So whether it's a new concept to you, hopefully, you sort of understand that it's more than just about what qualifications or skills you have. It's about how you use it. Okay. Then how do we determine all these things? How do we determine all this? How do I know what problems I can solve? Actually, not that difficult, lah, to be frank. Okay. So I have a process which I bring through all my clients. So I'm going to share this process with you. All right. Especially for those who are new to my workshops. Huh? Okay. So I'm going to show you a few examples. Okay. So again, you could call it two columns here. Right. So one column, my skills and experiences. Those of you, you would know what your skills and experiences are. Then the next thing is problems I solve. Okay, the next column. So essentially, breaking it down to two portions. So one example here could be what? I have extensive people management experience and a successful track record of building effective teams. So in other words, it's like you are a good people manager, you're a good team builder. If that is your skills and your experience, then think about it. What problems can I solve if I have good team building or team people management skills? What problems can I solve? Think about this. What do you type into the chat box? If you had such skills and experiences, people management and team building, what problems do you think you can solve? I'm sure there are some people here that has that skills. What problems do you think you can solve? Type into the chat box. What problems do you think you can solve if you have this? Right? Staff turnover, employee conflict. What else? Yep, conflicts. A lot of people say conflicts. Yeah. Yes, conflict seems to be the favorite topic. Yeah. Conflicts could be one area, right? It could be a lot of different areas, right? So you could solve your high staff turnover issue. Okay, solve your high staff turnover issue. So that's just one problem that you can solve using that skills or experience that you have. All right. Sharon mentioned mentoring. Mentoring is a process, it is not a problem you solve. Right? You can solve the problem by introducing a mentoring system or mentoring someone. But what is the problem? You have to be very specific. Okay. So what other examples can we show? What other example? Here, I already want you all to think about the differentiation between how you do it and the problems you solve. Because once you understand what problems you solve, right, it is very easy for you to identify what companies or who you can help because they have those problems. Okay. So you have to differentiate between the problems and the way you do it. Okay. I'll explain a little bit later on what I mean by that. Another example here. In my previous roles, I leveraged on non-traditional marketing strategies which had greater return on investments and impactful results. So in other words, what I'm saying here is that this person has got very good marketing skills and experiences. Very good marketing and experiences. Okay. So if you have got very good marketing skills and experiences, what problems can you solve? What problems can you, not how you solve it, what problems can you solve? Think about this. What problems can you solve? Right? I would maybe one of the problems you can solve is it brand presence. You have the company has very limited international brand presence or it's a very tight marketing budget. Okay, so that is the company's problem. I can help you solve that problem with these skills and experiences that I have. Okay, last example. In my previous roles, I moved the customer base to a higher level by recrafting outreach messages and targeting the right segments. Again, you know, a subset of marketing skills, but here very specific, right? You are very good at segmenting the market. You are very good at reaching out to the right target audience. This could involve digital marketing and all that. Okay. So what is the problem you solve if you have that skill? What is the problem you solve if you had that skill? Okay. Yeah. Nat says expanding customer base. You're right. Yeah. So I will increase the quality of your customer base, leading to a higher sustainable sales level. Yeah. Right. Thank you, Nat, for contributing that little point there. Okay. Hopefully you get that thinking process. Okay, so here let me just run through the a final example here so that it becomes a little bit more clear about how you differentiate between the problems you solve and how you solve it. So let me come back to this particular example where it says I have people and team management skills and experience. Okay, so the problem I solved just now was what? Minimizing or solving high staff turnover, right? That was a problem I could solve, right? Now, how I do it, how I do it. There could be a lot of ways to show how you do it, right? So this is just one example. I build effective team environment by focusing on individual member strengths and pushing them all in the same direction. Now you see the differentiation between the problems you solve and how you do it. Okay? Just imagine the power you would have If you are able to go up to a company or to a person, right, and say, I know how to solve your problem because I've done it before. Think about the power and influence you would have, right? Then when they get their interest gets piqued, they say, oh, really? How do you do this? Then you start telling them, I do this by blah, 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 blah. Okay? So think about this. Maybe I give you guys another 5 minutes. You do your own problem solving problem solving area identification. So why don't you do this? Just try and list down one of your skills and experience. Okay, list down maybe one of the problems you can solve, and describe how you can do it. All right. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You give it a try. You give it a try. All right, and then we come back and discuss this. All right, if you want to share your examples, by all means do so. Okay, so 5 minutes again, give it a try, listing down at least one of your skills and experiences. All right, and what problem you can solve with those skills and experience, and then maybe think about how you actually do it based on what you have done before. Okay. Okay, I hope you all had a chance to actually try this particular activity out. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to actually identify what problem solving areas that you have. Okay, anybody got any questions about this particular way of identifying it? Anybody got any questions? You type into the chat box if you have a question. We can deal with this now. Okay, good. So go back, after today's session, if you didn't have time to actually do more of this, by all means do so. So very important. In fact, whenever a client comes to me with any particular career issue, this is one of the first things I ask them to do. How do you help other people? How do you help other people? All right. So we spend the last few minutes for this section really going through the VIPS, values, interest, personality, and S is the strengths. I call it the strengths, not the skills. All right. And here, basically, we went through the whole process of trying to understand what's important to you in terms of your career and your job, but at the same time also who are you doing this for? Who is important to you? Okay. We went through the activity of trying to understand what you are good at, right? That's where we are talking about the strengths. We try to go through the activity of getting you to identify what problem areas that you can solve so that you can be positioned as a problem solver to everyone. Okay, so what does this mean? Getting all these things together, how can this help you? Well, essentially, once you know how you help other people, you can actually go through the whole career process, the career development process, with much more confidence, because you know what you can do, you know how you can help people, because you know what you are good at. Okay, so that is the whole focus for this particular session of the VIPS, getting to know yourself, so that you have the confidence to go out and communicate and touch base with other people and tell them, no, this is how I can help you. Once other people know that you can help them to solve their problems, you will be in demand. Okay, and that's where your career development becomes more progressive. All right. Next one is this particular area where we are looking at options. We are looking at options. Okay. What is out there? So with all the things that we need to do about trends, occupation, what's the environment, what's the, and then we go through the process of shortlisting of this whole thing. All right. So I just want to make sure that we understand something very clearly first. Remember this thing where you told me about your career issues? Remember all those? All the career issues. Many of you say you want to switch careers, but why is the reason you want to switch careers and all that? All right. So I always ask my clients, what is your career issue? And then when they tell me this, like for example, someone tells me, and many of you have said, I want to switch careers. Okay. I dig deeper. You will have to dig deeper and ask, what is the real issue here? Why are you really wanting to switch careers? You'll be surprised, many people, the reasons why they want to switch careers actually may not need you to switch the careers if you solve that particular issue. Like for example, many people say they want to switch careers because they can't get along with their boss or their job or whatever. All right, you'll be surprised. Okay, so you have to dig deeper and understand what is the real career issue that you're undergoing right now. Okay, is it because you need a change of perspective? You need to a different way of looking at things, right? Because sometimes when we look at things in a very certain way, a very negative way, it gives us very bad feelings, negative self-talk. Maybe it limits our own way, our own self-belief. All right. So in the end, then we become unhappy, and then we feel that we are not progressing. Okay. So for example, those of you who are currently working, you may say that I'm stuck in this job and no one sees me, no one's going to promote me. All right. Or another way to look at it, I've been in this role for 3 years. I think I'm ready to expand my skills. I'm ready to expand my skills. All right. So that's a different way of looking at it. Or those of you, I've been trying to find a job for so long. I feel very bad. I feel very useless. If you turn it around and say, okay, I know there's the right job out there. I just need some guidance. I need some way of looking for the job. Okay, so changing your perspective. So try to understand what is the real reason. What is the real career reason? Once you understand that, all right, you look back at what you found out about yourself in the previous exercises. Then you start looking at what's available out there. You start looking at all the options out there. And what are you looking for? When you are looking at options and all that, because remember, right, not everything is suitable for you. Correct? Not everything is suitable for you. So you really need to know what you are good at, what you want to do. Once you do that, then you can go and explore. And you go and explore in terms of what? What is the potential of the market? What is the potential for you if you go into that job or that career? All right? What is the nature of the work? Because we all know we may not be suitable for every single type of job. So there may be certain jobs that we are better, more suited at. Oh, somebody's writing on the screen. Hopefully, please don't annotate for me. I have to remove the annotation. Okay, thank you so much. All right. What is the environment? What is the culture? What is the culture? Yeah. What is the culture of the place that suits us best? Right? And then lastly, but I think most of us will look at this as a very important factor. What is the compensation that we're willing to accept? Or what is the average compensation out there? Okay, so these are all the things we need to find out in this particular section on exploring options. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, there's a lot of work to do. You're right, there's a lot of work to do. But it is a necessary piece of work, necessary piece of activity. All right. And how do we do this? How do we do this? Now, there are lots of ways to do it. Many of you will be saying, oh, I just go on internet and do my research. Yes, you can do this. But, there's only so much you can get from the internet, right? Obviously, some of you will say, oh, internet, everything is there. You're right. But then there's also a very good way to complement this process of finding information online, right? Is the fact that you go and talk to people who are either working in that environment, in that industry, in that role, in that company. Talk to people. And this process of talking to people is what we call the informational interview process. Okay. Now, I can't go into a lot of details about this right now because we don't have the time. All right. I'm going to show you a short video to give you an overview of what informational interview is all about. All right, then we can come back and do a very quick summary on what this is. All right, this will be a very short video, probably about 3 minutes long. So take a look at it.
An informational interview is an amazingly powerful tool. It can help you learn about different types of work you're interested in. And by providing inside perspective, it may even connect you to opportunities you couldn't see from the outside. So let's take a look at what informational interviewing is all about. An informational interview is not a job interview, and it's not a tricky play to get a job. If you're asking for a job and they do have one, then they'll likely start judging whether you're a good fit. And if they don't have one, then that conversation ends there. The key to a successful informational interview is curiosity. With sincere curiosity and good questions about your interviewee's life and experience, you gain insights into their successes and failures, how they got where they are, and what's important to them. Your curiosity will lead to an authentically engaged conversation, which also opens the door for the interviewee to get curious about you. The professional you're speaking with might say something like, "Wow, you're asking some really good questions." And in that transition, informational interviewing becomes even more valuable for someone looking for work. Informational interviews give you an opportunity to see what kinds of work resonate with you and help you determine what communities you would like to be a part of. In a good informational interview, the professional you speak with gets a lot out of the conversation too. They get to discuss their life and their work with someone who's curious about their experience and values their expertise. Plus, they get the pleasure of talking with someone who's genuinely interested in what they do. How do you do it well? Here are 5 tips to get you started. First, do your homework. Take some time to research LinkedIn or other online platforms to learn about the professional you're interviewing. Consider what questions you have about their life and work. The second tip is to try to meet in person. On the phone is okay, but face-to-face is best. 3, always try to buy the coffee or lunch. Your interviewee is giving you their time. Paying is a good way of showing your appreciation and beginning to create a connection. 4, ask your interviewee who else they recommend you talk with. If the interview has gone well, they may be willing to connect you to other professionals you can learn from and who might have opportunities for you. Finally, tip number 5. After the interview, send a thank you. Email is okay, but a handwritten note is even better. And if they asked you to keep them posted on your progress, do so.
Okay. Thank you, Nat, for sharing the URL for this video. I was actually going to share it after this, but thank you so much for sharing. Okay. So very short video, all right? But basically what it means, what this activity or information interview is basically an informal meeting with another person in the field of work or organization that you are thinking of joining, all right? And essentially what you want to do there is to try and find out if that company or industry is suitable for you, fits back to who you are and what you want to do, all right? And then it's basically also another way to develop your own network of supporters to help you uncover opportunities that are not advertised. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a little while. All right. So here, very, very useful. Now, information interview, a lot of preparation that needs to be involved. And sometimes people may say, oh, it doesn't work and all that. Trust you me, it works, but it just takes a bit of effort. Sometimes your hit rate may not be 100%, but if you contact the right people, right, it will help you a lot. Okay, so now then the question you may ask is this: how do we then identify the right people to contact? I'm going to share this with you over the next few slides. Okay, so first things first, right? How do I know which companies I want to go for? Now, this is what I call a company bucket list. Okay, which organization should I target? So a very simple process. Those of you been to my workshop will know this, right? But those of you who haven't, this is what I ask my people to do. Okay, essentially, again, a little table. I like tables. Those of you who may not know right now, I like tables. I like little exercises that I get my clients to do. All right, these are the things that you can do to try and help you identify what companies you want to work for. All right, identify firstly the target company. How do you do this? You scan the industry, maybe you talk about what's happening out there, what are the growing segments, you go online, you talk to people around you, your colleagues, your friends, all find out as much information as you can about companies. You may already have some companies in mind, right? So you shortlist these companies down. Ideally 8 to 10, not more than 10, but not less than 5. Okay, so this gives you a good number to look at. Are we okay with this? All right, so identifying companies. Okay, what do you all tell me now? Type into the chat box, what companies do you think you want to work for? Do you want to target? Can you type into the chat box, what companies are you thinking of when you are thinking about another job, another company? Type into the chat box. What are the companies you would like to go for? Be very specific, Linda. What is the name of the company? Don't say that's a quality, because a lot of companies may be good paymaster. What is the name of the company? Anybody else? Right? BW Group, okay. I'm not familiar with the company, but sounds like a big Apple, Google, right? So technology company. Tech now is not so good, but anyway, if that's a company that you want to go for, fine. Any other companies that I'm sure many of you would have some idea of what companies you want to go for, all right? So the whole idea is this: you kind of list down what are the companies that you want to go for. Okay. Now, let's take one example. Let's take one example now. So if you chose one company, let's say Apple, okay, you choose Apple, right? So then you ask yourself, why does Apple excite me? Or Linda here, why does Morgan Stanley excite me? Okay, how does it align with my passion and interest? Why does working for Morgan Stanley or Apple excite me? Right? If you thinking about Apple, maybe it's because you love the products, okay? You love new technology, right? You love the fact that they are very trendy and fashionable company, very strong brand name. Well, by all means, put it down, put it down, okay? But that is not enough. Knowing how the company excites you is not enough. The next step you have to understand, you have to try and identify is how does this company relate to me in terms of the exercise you did previously, in terms of your VIPS, value, skills, experience, right? And all those things. In other words, why can I fit into that company? Why can I fit into Morgan Stanley? What is it about my personality, my background and all? What does it do? What does it do to make me fit into that company? Do I have the experience that Morgan Stanley is operating in? Do I have the skill sets that Apple is looking for? Okay, ask yourself that. Ask yourself that. Okay, so is that enough? No, right? Even if you're able to answer this question, how does it relate to me? Why do I fit into that environment? The other thing you have to ask yourself is, how can I help the company? All right. So, in other words, this is where we come back to the exercise that you did previously. What issues can I solve? So this is where, remember I told you to differentiate between the issues, the problems you solve, differentiate it from the way you solve it. So if you know what problems you solve, when you dig through the company's background and the information, you'll be easily able to identify what issues they are going through and see how you can help them. Okay, you have heard my examples before, those of you who've been to my workshops. Example of a client who was in the logistics company. He wanted to change. He found out that Amazon was coming into Singapore to set up a regional logistics center, right? And he said, I can help Amazon expand and set up operations in Singapore because I've been doing that. I have those experiences. Okay, so what issues can you solve? Okay, so be very clear about this. Then if you've got a list of 8, 5, 10 companies, there will be some things that they have in common, whether they are from the same industry, whether they're selling the same product, whether they have same culture, geography, or maybe if they're serving the same customer segment. Try to identify what those themes are. Now, why is this important? It's because next time if you come across another company and that company excites you, or you are interested in that company, let's see how it fits into those themes. It may fit in, it may not fit in. If it doesn't fit in, then you ask yourself, okay, if it doesn't fit in, why am I really interested in it? Okay, think deeper. Okay, so if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do that. All right, so this is a very simple table, right, that you can go through. I call it the company bucket list. All right, so going through this will help you identify what companies are suitable for you. All right, how you can help them. All right, and as an offshoot of this, you'll be able to then identify who are the people that you want to talk to. So for example, if you want to join Apple, right, maybe you can talk to people who are already currently working in Apple for the informational interview, or you can talk to their suppliers or their vendors. What is it like working for Apple or in Apple itself? Or maybe you can talk to people who are in the industry, their competitors, right? And say, what is it like working in the high-tech industry like Apple, like in a company like Apple, for example. Okay, so you drawing up a short list of companies in this process is really useful for you. All right. Okay, so what is the purpose of this portion now? The whole purpose of trying to explore what's happening out there is really to give you a very important set of information. In other words, it is there to meant you to give you possibilities of where you can go, right? And then it gives you a benchmark for you to choose which ones you want to target, which company or which industry you want to go for, or which jobs you want to go for. Okay, so exploring. So the keyword here is exploring options. Options is the keyword, alternatives. So those of you who already have one job in mind or one career in mind or one company in mind, right? If you go to a coach, the coach's job is to try and help you to identify if there are also other alternatives for you. Okay, so that if that one job or one career or one company that you have targeted doesn't work out, at least you have something else to fall back on. Or maybe you've through this whole particular exercise you found that, hey, actually I can do something else, right? I'm not just stuck in that particular area or that particular industry, or so you have the ability to actually look on a broader scale so that you can make the right choice for you. Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next two, which is basically the meats and bones of what we're trying to do today. That the first one here is this: getting focused. Here, what do we mean by getting focused? Is really all those things that you see here. All right, so let me go through what those components are. First things first is this. Let's talk about goals. Goals. What are goals? What is your goal? Simple answer to this question is basically, what do I want? Right? So if I ask my client or ask you, what is your goal? What is your career goal? Essentially is, what do I want to do with my job and my career? All right. So this is something you need to think about. What is your career goal? Right? I'm going to give you an example later, but just bear that in mind. Right? What is your career goal? Then the next question you ask yourself is this: how do I achieve my goals? Okay. Once you identify what you want to do, the next thing you need to understand is, when do you want to do this? When do you want to achieve this? So time frames is very important. You need to set a time frame. So there's this thing about a long-term and short-term time frame. My question to all you guys now is this: which comes first? Which one do you need to determine? Long-term, do you need to determine long-term goal first, or do you determine what your short-term goal first is? What do you guys think? Can you type into the chat box? Do you think you need to determine your long-term goal first or your short-term goal? Nat says depend. Linda says short-term. What do you guys think? Short-term, some people do long-term, then do short-term. Okay. If you think about it, Iriana, yeah, other people say long-term. If you think about it, all right, if you don't establish what you want to achieve in the future, how then can you know what you need to do now? Right? So in essence, you need to look at what you want to achieve in the future. So that's the long term. Then you start breaking it down, what you need to do now. Okay? So that is the thing that the flow that I'm suggesting here. And why do we say this? Essentially, it's this little thing called gap analysis. What is your current state versus what is your desired state? Okay, your desired state is something that you want to achieve in your long term. Okay, then you start thinking about what you need to do, key factors for change, and that's where your action plan is. That's where your action plan is. Okay, so let me share with you a very typical example. Okay, oops. Let's say you have a long-term goal which looks like this. Right? I want to go into a marketing career in fast-moving consumer products, FMCG, in 2 years' time. So maybe your long-term goal is 2 years, right? So let's say if you have that, then what are my short-term goals? Remember, your short-term goals, once you achieve your short-term goals, it will help you achieve your long-term goals. So it could be number one, maybe connect up with 8 key FMCG marketeers over the next 3 months. Remember time frame, all right? Another short-term goal could be what? Shortlist 8 target companies by December. Okay, the bucket list that I mentioned just now. Right? Another short-term goal could be I want to get trained in marketing. I get a marketing qualification in 12 months' time. So that will be your sub goals, your short-term goals. Okay, so you have your long-term goal to achieve in 2 years marketing career, but in order to get to that stage, you need to identify a few short-term goals, right? So once you have identified your short-term goals, then remember I said about gap analysis, right? What are the activities you need to do? So short-term goal one, you want to connect up with key FMCG marketeers over the next 3 months. Your activities could be find out from your network who these marketeers are. You research and connect with them on LinkedIn by October, for example. Maybe you conduct some informational interviews by November. So those are your activities, your action plans to achieve short-term goal one. What about short-term goal two? Shortlist 8 target companies. So find out who these 8 companies are from your network by September, October. Okay. Compile company bucket list by October. So by October, you compile your 8 to 10 companies, right? Then you conduct some informational interviews by November. Okay, so that you can shortlist those 8 target companies. What about short-term goal three? Okay, if you want to get marketing qualification, you want to go for a course. So you need to identify what are the relevant courses. You need to do that by September. You apply in October, right? Then you have to attend this by December, right? So that's your short-term, your activities for short-term goal three. Okay, so you see the flow here. You see the flow here. So you identify what you want to achieve in the long term. Example here, achieve a marketing career in 2 years. Then you understand what do I need to do? What are the short-term milestones or short-term goals I need to do in order to achieve that long-term goal? Once you identify the milestones, then you start thinking about what are the activities related to that specific milestone. Those things in the yellow box. Okay, so that is the flow. Now, this is not the end of it, because once you have all this, you may need help in some of those things. Then you have to identify what support or resources you need to do. Okay, so this is essentially the goal setting and action planning process that coaches will bring you through. Okay, this is the goal setting and action planning process that the coaches will bring you through. Now, there are plenty of templates out there in online about how do we capture this on a piece of paper. Lots of, I mean, if you want to make it as complicated as you want or as simple as you want also can, right? But essentially the components are the same. Okay, start from what you want to do, what you want to achieve by when, your long-term goal. Break it down into short-term goals, or some people like to call it milestones instead of short-term goals. That's fine. All right. Then construct action plans relating to getting you to achieve those short-term goals. Right. And how, and then along the way, who do you need, what resources you need. Okay. So this is just one simple template that's out there that you can use. Very simple one. There are lots of other templates out there as well. Okay. So that's goal setting and action planning. All right. And the whole idea is this: once you are able to do those things, all right, it's actually going to help you achieve a few things. It's going to help you not only understand what you need to do, it constructs a plan, but at the same time, it gets you to prioritize what is important, what you need to achieve first, what you need to achieve second, and all that. All right. Then through the whole process of planning, right, then you start thinking about what decisions you need to make. Okay, what decisions you need to make. All right. So that's the whole process. Essentially, this whole section is really about being prepared. Once you are prepared, right, there's no fear for you to move forward. There's no fear for you to move forward. This portion about reality testing is really about once you put those activities on the piece of paper or whatever, you have something to refer to. When you actually go and do it, the reality, you may need to change and tweak some things. For example, you may say, oh, I cannot connect up with eight marketeers by that time frame. Maybe I'll do five. Yeah. So you test and then you sort of tweak your plan again. Okay, so the whole focus for this particular portion, all right, getting focus, is really about being prepared, being prepared. Okay, okay. I don't see any questions, so let me go on to the last portion, which is actually the action, the things that you need to go out to do, the things that put your feet on the street. Okay, the action part of things. All right, so here a lot of stuff to do. Okay, the whole idea of career development process here is really about how should I put it, being not passive but active. You have to do something. You have to do something. I know many of us, prefer to take the easy way out. Well, if you do that, maybe the opportunities may not come your way as often as you like. Okay, right. So taking action means what? It's all those things that you listed down there, which I'll go through bit by bit. All right. So the first things first is this: opportunities, jobs out there. There are two types of jobs essentially. There's one that's advertised. Okay, those are visible. I call it the visible job market. Now, many of you will probably know the stats, right? My last workshop, I showed this latest updated stats, which I saw from another article. Right? Essentially, what they're saying here is that visible jobs are jobs that advertise. 25% of all jobs are posted online or posted in the public sphere. Right? 15% is by headhunters. Okay? 15% is by headhunters. Okay. So what does this mean? When you're actually going after jobs that are advertised out there, what type of candidates will have success for this type of jobs that advertise? Can you all tell me? Type into the chat box. What sort of jobs, what sort of people will be successful in getting jobs that advertise out there? Anyone? What type of candidates will be successful in getting advertised jobs? Think about this. Not people who are, okay, Gary maybe say entry level. Could be, could not be, but I think there's something that's more relevant than just whether it's entry or experience. What else is there? What type of candidates will be successful in getting jobs that are advertised in the public sphere? Okay, so those that have good resumes, possibly. What do we mean by good resumes? They could have a particular type of background. Okay, so essentially they are candidates who are relevant experience, relevant skills that the people want, the companies want. They are relevant career experiences. Their skills are in demand. They've got a recent track record. So if you have all these things, right? And if your skills and experience is more than 70% meeting the requirements of those jobs that are advertised, your chance of getting called out for interview will be pretty good, because you have those things that the advertisers want. You have those things that the advertisers want, right? So, but then if I look at your career issues that you just shared with me earlier on, many of you said that you want to switch careers. So if you are going to switch careers by just relying on this type of jobs that are advertised out there, do you have these relevant skills and experience? If you are a career switcher, do you have all those? Do you have relevant career history? Do you have a track record that they are looking for? Probably not. Which means that what? You probably won't get called up for interviews if you go after only advertised jobs. So then what's there left for us? Okay. We have to look at what? The hidden market. And how do we know where the hidden market is? Now, I've done a whole workshop on the hidden job market. All right. So I think I'm going to have this workshop in first quarter of next year. I'll share with you the dates later on. But I've got no time to go through this. But essentially, the hidden job market, how do you source for the hidden job market? Essentially, is that you have to go out and look for it, or make sure that you are so attractive that people will come to you. Okay, so whether it's through social media, building a network, participating in events, joining associations, volunteering, from part-time, hopefully going to full-time. So imagine if you look at this, if you fall into any of these three categories you see on the right here, whether you are older worker, which most of you are 45 and above, you are mid-career switcher, which many of you are looking to switch careers. If you are someone who has not been working for a long time and you're coming back to the labor force, right? Which job search strategy will be most effective for you? Think about it. Okay. Chances are you probably need to do some legwork to go after this particular job search category, the hidden market. You can still try those that advertise, all right, but don't ignore the hidden market. That's what I'm saying. Don't ignore the hidden market, right? And how do you identify what's out there that's not advertised? How do you identify all that? It's basically what I just described earlier on, right? You put yourself out there, meet people, right? Draw up a list of companies, find out information about those companies and how you can help them, how you position yourself as a problem solver. You have to do the legwork. You have to do the legwork, right? Cannot be passive and just sit back and say, oh, I'll just apply to 200 jobs, advertised jobs, and I'm happy. If you're in any of those three categories I just mentioned, right, mature worker, career switcher, returning to work, your chance of success will not be great. I have to be frank and put it on the table for you. Okay, you have to do the legwork, right? And when you're doing all this, and this is a phrase that I use with all my workshops and my clients, it is not about you, no? It is about how you can help them. What problems can you solve for them? Okay, how you can help them, right? So you have to be a problem solver, and this is where personal branding comes in. This is where personal branding comes in. Now, I've done many workshops on personal branding. Again, a lot of details here. So okay. So in that workshop, basically what I said, there's a lot of things you can do, but essentially one of the key things that you need to do is really make sure that you have a presence on LinkedIn, especially those of you who are working in the corporate world, want to work in the corporate world. LinkedIn is one of the most powerful tools. All right. And today, it just so happens, I came across a very interesting article which emphasizes a point that I mentioned in the workshop. Okay. It is what? It is not about who you know directly. It is about who you know indirectly, whether it's through second degree or third degree. Okay, so this article says that when it comes to finding a new job, moderately weak ties are those that are most useful and the strongest ties are the least. In other words, the second and third degree connections are more useful for you. Okay, and how you identify this is really through going out there, building your network, going doing informational interviews, getting to know people, right? Or attracting people to you through your own personal brand. That is so important. All right. And when you are doing this, there are a few key things you need to understand, you need to do. Okay. I'm just truncating all the key priorities that I've described in that personal branding workshop. Right. These are the things. Number one, make sure you build relationship and trust. Make sure you build relationships and trust with the people that you meet. All right. You focus here is to try and understand what opportunities are there. So you're getting more information, right? So that whoever you're talking to is aware of you, right? Is aware of Regine. Say, oh, Regine is out there, she's looking for this particular type of job. All right, I'll keep an eye out for her. All right. When you're connecting up with people, find something in common. That is the easiest way to do so. whether it's through alumni, whether it's through an event that you both shared, whether it's through association, whether it's through colleagues, ex-colleagues, or somebody you know in common. Best way to connect up with people is to find something in common with them. But when you do so, when you connect up with them, don't immediately ask for a job. People will avoid you like the plague if you do that. Okay? Develop relationship, develop trust. Okay? Make sure you add value to the relationship. Be prepared. In other words, when you are going out and building your network, right, you have to do the legwork. You have to prepare for the informational interview. You have to prepare who you want to meet up with, the background of the people, right? And then you have to draw up a list of people that you want to meet, right? Build your own network. Okay, so a very short way of approaching this personal branding topic of building relationships, building network. Okay, if you want to know more, go to that video that I just shared in the URL with you. Oh, by the way, in the anything that's posted into the chat box, when you leave this session, you can actually save the chat. Okay, so the URLs will be there when you leave. Okay, so not to worry. Okay, so that is building relationships, building your network. Next thing here, okay, apart from building relationship, developing your network, you might also want to think about how can I get more experience in the area that I want to go into, especially if this is a new area for me. Why do I want to do this? How do I do this? First of all, why? Why do I want to get more experience in that area? Very simple one. I mean, obviously, if it's something that you've not been in there, once you get the experience, you build credibility. Then other people will see, oh yeah, Linda has gone into the area before, she's done it before. Okay, I understand. Then maybe I got more confidence that she can do it. All right. Your reputation definitely will be enhanced because you are putting yourself out there, you are trying something. Right? Gives you a chance to practice and enhance any skills that you have just learned. I'll give you an example. When I started on this journey as a career coach, okay, one of the ways I got myself to get more new experience is that I actually offered my coaching services FOC. And there I was able to try out my new skills, enhance my reputation. At the same time, I build credibility because I help the people, right? And I was able to practice. Okay. Getting insights. When you get new experiences, you go into a new area, you get more information about what is that area all about. So you get more insights. Okay. And then sometimes when you actually go into a voluntary situation, you volunteer for something, you may be converted into a permanent job. Okay, so very, very important. And then obviously networking, building out your network because you go into a new area. Okay, so you get meet more new people. Now, how do I get new experiences? How do I get new experiences? Basically, there are a few ways to do it. Those of you who are still studying or freshly graduated, you can go for internships. Right now, there are also adult internships. Some companies offer internships to adults. Okay, if you are currently working, right, see if you can volunteer for projects that are currently happening in your company in a new area. You say, I want to try. Okay. You can also volunteer to do some stuff outside your work hours or in another area. Right? Look for opportunities in that area to volunteer. Okay, maybe paid, maybe unpaid. You may go for career trials, like WSG has got this career trial program. Join the career trial, give it a try. Now, the objective of this, I remember I told you, when you are actually going out there to get experiences, like for example, this career trial, I had a lot of people coming back to me and say, this career trial useless, they don't pay much. I tell you, your thinking is wrong. When you go for things like the career trial, your objective is not to get the same salary that you had before. That is not your objective. They give you the salary, the pay is not to match your past salary, but is to compensate you for the time that you do it. But your exposure to the job and everything is more important because at the end of the day, right, if the company that you're trialing for finds that you are suitable, they will hire you. This is also a chance for you to try out what's happening in that place as well. Okay, so please, when you go for career trials, when you go for experiential learning as experiences, your objective is very different. Your objective is very different. Okay, so that's gaining experiences. Okay, so now assume that you have all those things already. What's the next step? I'm going to talk about resumes and interviews now. Resumes and interviews. Okay, what is the purpose of a resume? What is the purpose of a resume? Can you all type into the chat box? What is the purpose of a resume? Teaser, showcase your USP. What else? What is the purpose? You send your resume, KK, right? Get interview, right? Your resume, the purpose of your resume is to secure an interview. Remember that. Okay? Some people say, oh, I send a resume out is to get a job. No. You send a resume out is to get an interview. The purpose of the interview is to get the job. Okay? So you see the thing here now. All right? So I want to delve deeper into this whole thing. Huh? So when you are doing resume interviews, you must, I emphasize this again, you must customize whatever you put in your resume and whatever you say in interview to address the company's immediate issues. So which means what? You have to research. You have to research on the interviews. On the companies and the job. You have to do your research on that. Okay? You have to research on that. All right, so and then you have to customize. And when you're doing your resume and your interview, what are the things you're going to say? What are the things you're going to say to convince them that you are the right candidate? You have to tell them what you have achieved, what you have accomplished. Focus on what you have accomplished. Okay? I'll go into a little bit detail later on. Right? So let me zoom down on resumes now. Okay. Resumes are different formats, right? You all know this. You got the chronological format and the functional format. Chronological means you just put down the dates in reverse order. Functional means basically you list down what skills you have and all that. Okay? And these two, very, very useful. Very useful format if you have got this. You have a consistent career track record. You have no career gaps. You've got specialized skills, and the job or career that you're going for is consistent. In other words, it's in the same area that you have done before. Okay, so functional and reverse chronological format, very good for people who have this. But what happens if you don't? Okay, this thing about hybrid comes to mind. And to be honest, nowadays, most of the time, candidates actually use hybrid. The only people that really like reverse chronological order are actually the headhunters, because that allows them to actually see where the career gaps are. Okay? All right? But if you're pitching yourself out in the marketplace and you don't have all those things in the yellow box, okay, then perhaps you want to think about using a hybrid format. And what is a hybrid format? Essentially, this is an example. Okay? Basically, you are combining skills and experience and making sure that they come up to the forefront. Right? For example, this guy has a summary up there. Okay? Summary of what he has done. Note, it's a summary, it's not an objective. I'm going to talk a little bit about why you don't have an objective, but you have a summary. Okay? A summary is important. Summarizing what you're good at, right? What problems you solve. Right? And this is very good. This hybrid is usually very good for people who have different career tracks. Maybe people who have a career gap. You got a long career history. You don't want to list down everything. You want to focus people on certain things, right? And then if you want to change career, you need to identify what are your transferable skills and list this down in your summary and your skills. So hybrid is very useful for that. Okay, lots of information out there. You can take a look there. All right. So resume. So let me dig deeper. Once you talk about template, after template, you got to talk about what you're going to put in your resume. Okay, now here are some key things. Firstly, try and put down PDF. Send your resumes in PDF instead of Word document. You'll notice sometimes when you send in Word document, you send out by email or whatever, sometimes the things get jumbled up. Okay, so if you want to prevent it from being jumbled up, save it as a PDF. That's the safest. Okay, right? 1 to 2 pages, not more than 2 pages, please. Okay, because your recruiter, the people is going to read your resume is not going to go beyond the 2 pages. They're actually going to focus only on the top 4, because they spend how long on the resume? Recruiters, people who look at resumes, typically they have a few hundred resumes to look at. They probably only look at it less than 10 seconds, not 20 seconds even, less than 10 seconds. Yeah, okay, so top 4 is the most important, the top half. Okay, so 1 to 2 pages. I remember when I said no, don't put down objective. You can put down summary, right? Objective means what? Because when you say objectives, I want to find a job here in this area. No, people know you want to find a job, because otherwise why would you send in the resume? So don't waste space. Summarize what you are good at. Okay, so put down. Okay, addresses. Don't need to put your address unless you are trying to apply for a job overseas, or it's in a particular area that you have got affinity with. No need to put a job, but you put in your email and contact. That's enough. Okay, there's a question here. Let me see. Okay, at times recruiters state to provide resume in MS Word specifically. Yes. If they ask for it in MS Word, then you send MS Word. If they don't specify, first choice, put down in PDF. Okay? Yeah. Wong says that ATS cannot read PDF. The old ATS cannot. Now the new ATS can. Right? So again, coming back to the same rule. If the advertisement or the recruiters doesn't specify what format, you send it by PDF. If they say they want MS Word, then you send it by MS Word. Okay? Right. Now, the other bits here. You use keywords. Use keywords. Okay? Whether it's the industry keywords, you show action verbs like, show independence, action, you show problem solving skills and all that. So for example here, spearheading, predicted, developed, recognized, created. So use strong keywords, verb, action words, right? And then you show results. Please show results. And when I say results, and that means accomplishments, put down numbers. Put down numbers. Okay, put down numbers. So you can see the example here. Okay, there was one question here from KK. Do you need cover letter? Okay, actually, this topic it's been debated for a long time. Nowadays, many recruiters don't like to read cover letters. Do you know why they don't like to read cover letters or not? Can you type in the chat box? Why do you think recruiters don't like to read cover letters? Anybody? You type in the chat box. Why do people don't like to read cover letters? Yeah. Okay, ATS, no time, repetitive. Yeah, you're right. First of all, they have no time to read it, or they think that whatever you write in your cover letter repeats what you write in the resume. Okay, especially if they got so many things, so many resumes to read. So they say don't need. But underlying it all is that many people cannot write good cover letters. Many people cannot write good cover letters, right? So by reading it, sometimes the recruiter just get frustrated. Okay. However, if you are applying or going for a job that is in a hidden market, that means not advertised, in a hidden market, a cover letter will help you. A cover letter will help you, because then it gives you, the reader, some background information about you. I don't have time to go through what needs to be written in a cover letter, but essentially it means don't repeat what you have in the resume. Okay, the resume is like a fact document. It lists down all the things that you have done, all the things that you accomplished. A cover letter is like a marketing document, right? A cover letter entices people to read your resume, right? If you think of it that way. Okay, so that's my short answer to the cover letter question. Resume, are we okay? Are we okay with resume? All right. Lots of information out there, but I'm just summarizing this. Right, let's talk about interviews. Interviews. Wow, 4 o'clock already. Let's talk about interviews now. Before the interview, make sure you prepare. Prepare by brainstorming examples to show the things that you have done, to show the activities that you have done, to show how action oriented you are, what problems you have solved. Okay, so brainstorm the example. Make sure that you are prepared to talk about them during the interview, right? And then when you are at the interview itself, use this format, STAR format, STAR. What is the situation, right? What did you have to do, the task, okay? What is the task at hand? That means what did you have to do? What did you do is the action, right? And then what's the results? Okay, so prepare. The short answer to what you do at the interview is that you have to prepare for it. Okay, and the best thing you need to prepare is prepare examples of what you have done and how these examples, these activities can help that company. Remember, it's that red line, customized to address company immediate issues. So your examples, your accomplishments has to be tuned to make it relevant to the company that you are talking to. Are we okay? I know there's a lot of information, but I think I really need to put down because there's I don't have a lot of time, but I just want to make sure you all get all this. All right. Okay. So last few minutes, we have gone through this take action portion, right? All those things that I've listed there, I've described this. But at the end of it, what is most important for this particular section is that you have to take action. It's not a passive activity anymore. You have to go out and do something. And your focus when you go out and do all these things, you have to develop credibility. That is your focus now. That is your focus. Okay, when you are doing this particular action steps. Okay? Questions. Any questions? Let me just scan if there's anything in there. Okay. Yeah, no questions. I think I answered those questions just now. All right. If no questions, it is now 3:59. It's 4 p.m. So why don't I summarize everything? Okay. Then maybe you all may have other questions on the bigger picture. Let me summarize everything so that then we can close today's session. All right. We spent 2.5 hours talking about this particular portion. All right. We started off by saying, how can we achieve career success? It's really the bridge between your issues and your success. Coaching, whether it's doing yourself or whether you go for somebody's help, that is the bridge to allow you to achieve success. All right. And my purpose of today's workshop is really to give you a framework to achieve the ability to self-coach, right? And what is this framework? It's basically this career development process, which I described over the last hour, almost 2 hours. All right. So talking about the first one, knowing yourself, right? I emphasize the notion of finding out what's important for you, who's important for you, identifying what you are good at, right? So that you can position yourself as a problem solver. And once you know what problems you can solve, you get the confidence to go out into the marketplace and meet up with people. Okay? So that is the focus for knowing yourself. When I talked about options, exploring options, okay? Firstly, you need to identify what is your real key issue first. Know what is the real issue, right? Then you start thinking about what can you do in terms of identifying options. And the best way to find out what those options are, what your alternatives are, is really to go out, crafting informational interviews, drawing up a list of companies that you want to go for. Okay, and the focus for this particular area is what? The focus here is to identify possibilities for you, alternatives for you, so that you can make the right decision to choose which one you want to go for, right? That's what coaches do, what good coaches do. They help you to identify what are your possibilities. Okay, So if you want to do this yourself, you should then make the effort to identify what opportunities, what possibilities, what alternatives you have, right? And then you make the informed choice. When we talk about this portion, getting focused, goal setting, prioritizing, making decisions, going out and fine tuning your actions, the whole idea here is to make sure you are prepared. Once you are prepared, you have more confidence to go out to the marketplace, right? And the whole idea of getting prepared is really to plan for what you need to do, right? So identifying what your desired state is, what is your goal, what is your current state, and finding the gap in between, and then formulating activities and action plans accordingly. Okay, so that is your focus for this section on getting focus. Then the last one here, taking action. The whole idea here is that when you are taking action, going out and meeting new people, building networks, you have to remember it is not about you, it is about how you can help them as a problem solver. How you can help them, right? And in the process of doing so, you enhance and build up your credibility. Okay, so someone asked the question, how do you develop credibility? Essentially, what is credibility? Credibility is basically telling people you are good at something, you are able to do what you say. That means you are credible, right? So if you're developing a relationship, for example, you want that person to trust you, to believe you, then you say that, oh, I'm going to do this. Prove it, show it to them that you have done it. Okay? If they ask for information, right, in the area that you say you are good at, give to them the answer, right? Show proof, social proof, whether it's on LinkedIn or any other social media, the work that you have done. And this work that you have done, the accomplishments, need to be aligned with what you say you are good at to everybody else. So that's credibility, right? So for example, okay, if you want an example, I'll give you an example. When I started out on this journey of being a career coach almost 8 years ago, okay, one of the ways I built credibility was really online, was basically working with providing my services free, all right, at the beginning, so that people will say, wow, Yuan has helped me a lot. Then basically I said, maybe you can help me, maybe put a comment on LinkedIn or whatever, fine. Or, they have their own word of mouth, they refer me to other people. Okay, so that's building credibility. So that's an example there. Yeah. Right, how do you do this last part, taking action? I mentioned before, personal branding, right? You position yourself as a problem solver. You go out and get experiences, relevant experiences, right? You look at how you craft your resume and how you answer your interviews by focusing on the company's immediate issues, positioning yourself as someone who can help them with their issues, their problems. And you highlight what you have done, your accomplishments. You highlight this. All right? Okay. Screenshot time, if you want to take a screenshot of this. I know I talked a lot this last couple of hours. Hopefully, you all found it useful. Right? So screenshot already. Any other questions? Okay. If not, then can I ask a favor from you? All right, and basically fill up this survey form. Let me just put this into the chat box again. Those of okay, let me put this in the chat box. Copy. Okay. All right. So it is in the chat box, this survey form. If you can help me fill this up for today's session, okay, and you can see up there my future sessions all the way up to March. March, I actually have a couple of sessions. All right, March, I actually couple of sessions. All right, hopefully you can help me with this. All right, fill this up. I'll give you 5 minutes, all right? Then later on, those of you who are still interested in coming back to explore how else you want to engage with me, you can stay tuned. Those of you who have already heard about this, no need to do so, but help fill this in. And then if I don't see you and you're not staying out for the last section, then thank you so much for coming in. I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year as well. Huh? Any other questions? Okay. If not, then let me sort of then go into the final part where it's just basically an opportunity for us to work together if you want to, all up to you, all right? So the first things first, those of you who have not been with me before in my workshops, all right, this may be new to you. Essentially, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to send to you the link to this video, right? So let me, but I need you to provide me with your email and contact and all that. So let me just see where it is. Oh, okay, let me see. Oh, I don't have it here. All right, so let me then copy and paste this. Da, 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 da. All right, so essentially what I'm trying to do here is to make sure that I get your contact so that I can send this to you. All right, so and I normally do this in terms of a newsletter. All right, so let me paste this link into the chat box. There you go. It's in the chat box. All right, so essentially what I do is that once you provide me with this, I just send you the link to the video for today. And for December, there's a bonus because last 2 weeks ago, I did another workshop. So I'm going to incorporate 2 videos in December's newsletter. Right now, if you feel that you don't want to get any more newsletters from me, by all means, just unsubscribe. That's fine. Okay, I'm fine with this. Okay, so the link to this form is in the chat box. Okay, so that's one way. I think most of you are probably thinking of needing this, right? So a link to the video for today's workshop as well as the earlier December one. That's in the chat box itself. The other way that we can keep in touch is essentially looking at connecting out on LinkedIn. So that's my LinkedIn profile, or you can go into my Facebook page where I can again share this with you. So let me just, oops, this one, yeah, Facebook page. Go copy, paste. All right, so that is the Facebook page that you can go into. Right, so you can join them. My YouTube channel for some of the YouTube videos, the workshop videos are in that channel there as well. All right, so you can connect up with me on that. I regularly share information about job search and articles and job opportunities in those channels as well. Okay. If you guys are interested in engaging me as a coach, all right, you can do so as well, right? So here is the link to the website for the coaching. All right, so here is my website. You can take a look there and see the different things there. Essentially, I normally do my coaching based on packages. So in other words, I don't do individual ad hoc coaching. All right, I do based on packages. So like for example, here I have a package on the hidden job market, something I mentioned earlier. I have something on redesigning your career. In other words, it's a bit like career switching, but making sure that your whatever you do is different. Okay. I have something that is about if you are already certain about what you want to do, then things like tidying up your resume, your strategies, your LinkedIn profile, and all that, I can help you with that. All right, so you can just depending on what package is more suitable for you. And those of you who have been to my workshop, just let me know you've been to my workshop, which workshop, and then you're applicable for a discount as well. All right? So then those of you I mentioned earlier, those of you who are interested in being a career coach, I regularly hold certification courses as well. So you can actually find the information in my website, the link that I just provided there. Take a look at that. Essentially, my classes are very small, maximum 6 people, or I also do actually one-on-one certification courses as well. So you can take a look at that. All right. So basically, this coaching certification allows you to get two internationally recognized credentials, career coaching credentials. More information is there. If you need more information, just write to me, email to me. You see the email, yw@lifework.com. Okay? All right. So I think essentially what I hope that you all got out of this today is really an idea that there's a lot of things you can do, all right? But your outlook has to be something that allows you to progress forward, not backward. So here is, instead of being a pessimist, you need to be an optimist and look out and say, hey, actually there are things that I can do. Okay, so that is the basic thing that I think hopefully you all should be able to sort of grasp. Okay, many things, many possibilities, but you have to do the work. You have to do the legwork. Okay. Question from Sharina: how do we ask the career coach to guide us on customizing resume to job advertisement? You just have to go up and tell him, I'm applying for this job. Okay, can you tell me how to customize my resume? Right? Ask him to do it, or he can point you to the resources to do that. Right? But he has to know your background, he has to know your skill set, he has to know what job you're going for. Okay, so that is the main thing. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying back. There's about 60 people here who stayed back for the last 10 minutes or so. It's already 4:31, so I'm 1 minute beyond my allotted time. But hopefully you got what you need out of today's session. Okay, like I said, if you need more information or needs more insights, feel free to email me or connect up with me up there. All right. But in the meantime, if you guys if there's nothing else, and there's only a couple of more weeks for the end of today's this year, 2022 has gone by pretty quickly. I hope this year has been good for you, and I hope that next year will be even better for you. And those of you who are celebrating Christmas, I wish you a Merry Christmas. Those of you who are celebrating New Year, I wish you a great New Year ahead as well. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for keeping me company this last 12 months and this last 2.5 hours. I wish you guys well. You guys take care. All right. Be good. And it's just be safe, lah, everyone. All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Bye bye. Bye bye.